Mr. Carpenter, thank you very much for your time. Here in Yerevan, you met with the President, Sir Sargsyan, newly appointed Defense Minister, Vigen Sargsyan. I guess you are discussing military cooperation between U.S. and Armenia. Are you satisfied, I mean in Washington, are you satisfied with current level of military cooperation between Armenia and USA? And are there any obstacles for this cooperation, I mean Armenian membership to CSTO and deep Russian-Armenian military cooperation?
So we have excellent cooperation with Armenia in a number of areas. Armenia participates in the Resolute Support Mission in Afghanistan. They contribute troops to the KFOR mission in Kosovo, and they've proven that they're willing and able to contribute internationally to various peacekeeping efforts. So we have a very good partnership with Armenia. We do training here, we do joint exercises, we have robust engagements, we have consultations. So generally speaking, we are very pleased with the level of cooperation. Of course, we would like to deepen it and do more, and that is part of what I came here to discuss, is where there might be areas where we can expand our training. I just came here from viewing, in fact, some training that U.S. soldiers are doing in the combat medic area, where they're training Armenian combat medics on how to save lives, and it's gratifying to see that effort bearing fruit. So we're looking to see if we can expand.
Do you think that the Russian-American contradictions could have some kind of influence on U.S.-Armenian military cooperation and political affairs?
So, look, I won't hide the fact that the U.S. and Russia right now have a complicated relationship. We disagree on many fronts. We disagree about Russia's violation of Ukraine's sovereignty. We disagree about Russia's military intervention in Syria, which we believe is pouring gasoline on the flames of the Syrian civil war. And I won't hide the fact that in many areas we have opposing views of how to resolve various conflicts. However, here in Armenia and within the broader region, we are partners as co-chairs of the OSCE Minsk Group, and we have very much sought to compartmentalize this area and work collaboratively together. It is in our interest to see a diplomatic resolution to the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. And so we are willing to work with our Russian partners and try and seek that resolution if it's possible.
Is the USA worried that Russia has military base here in Armenia and Armenia might be used by Russians for their military aims?
Look, our goal throughout this region, and this goes again to our differences with Russia over the actions that it's taken in Georgia in 2008 and Ukraine in 2014, is that we do not believe it is appropriate for nations in the 21st century to be violating the bedrock principles of the international order: sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the inviolability of borders. And so when a country like Russia intervenes militarily in Georgia or Ukraine to try to dictate the terms of that country's future, we feel it's inappropriate. But by the same token, Armenia has a right to determine its own foreign policy course. And so if Armenia is comfortable with its relationship with Russia, then we are comfortable. We by no means wish to inhibit Armenia's relations with Russia. That is Armenia's sovereign choice.
In U.S. Department of Defense, you are responsible for conventional arms control, and we know that Russia, USA, and France are the members of OSCE Minsk Group. So, on the other hand, we know that Russia, we have huge Russian arms sale to Azerbaijan. What do you think on this situation for the region, for Nagorno-Karabakh peace conflict?
I think it's unfortunate, and I think it's highly destabilizing for a country to be providing an influx of weapons into an area where there is clearly lives are lost almost every month along the line of contact on both sides. And so for a country that is mediating to be selling weapons or providing weapons, I believe is inappropriate. Our policy, as you know, has been not to provide additional military capabilities. That doesn't mean that we don't have defense relationships with both Azerbaijan and Armenia. But I think pumping weapons and capability into a region like this is not a way to resolve the conflict peacefully.
Did you discuss this issue with the Russians?
We have discussed this issue, and we have discussed, in fact, we have an open dialogue with Russia on any number of issues, to include the situation here, to include Ukraine, to include Syria. And by the way, let me just say, in terms of our relationship with Russia, although we don't see eye to eye on many of these issues that I've raised, we do try to maintain dialogue, and we do try and cooperate where it's possible. So if it's possible to cooperate within the Minsk group, then we certainly do so. And so far, we actually do have reasonable cooperation within that format. And in other areas too. I mean, we keep the door open to the possibility of talking to the Russians and finding a common ground on Syria. Although right now, I have to say, we're not finding that common ground. In the future, we will continue to test that proposition that we may be able to find common ground.
Are you worried that a war in Nagorno-Karabakh will break again?
Look, the situation here is very tense on the ground. The events that we witnessed in April demonstrate that all too clearly. The fact that lives are lost, as I mentioned earlier, along the line of contact, shows that the conflict is not frozen, as it's conventionally called a frozen conflict. It's far from frozen. And so we are worried that things could escalate. It is a dangerous situation, and it underscores the need for finding a diplomatic resolution as soon as is possible.
And my last question regarding Turkey, recent developments in Turkey. Do you see any threat to region? I mean, what is your assessment on situation in Turkey and around it?
Look, Turkey is a NATO ally and an important partner in the region. It plays a role in various different regions, in the Levant, in the Eastern Mediterranean, in the Balkans to the north, and in the South Caucasus. We have good relations with Armenia, so we see our role, and I'm talking about the United States and the Pentagon as well, as serving as a bridge between Armenia and Turkey, but also between Turkey and its various other partners in the region. We certainly work very closely with our Turkish partners on any number of threats, including the effort now, which is one of our top national security priorities, which is defeating Daesh, both in Iraq and Syria and that theater, but also in terms of the metastases of Daesh to other parts of the world.
Okay, thank you very much for this interview, Mr. Carpenter.
Thanks for having me.